Welcome everyone again from Paolo, and today we have something different about the tutorial. This is a new tutorial for Avgeek Life series videos, and today I will do a tutorial that actually I was thinking to do that science a lot of time, because actually I thought that there was no tutorial about that specific topic that I will later explain to you. And I also have the opportunity to introduce the new aircraft to my series. Actually, this is an old aircraft, very much used in both FS9 and FS6, and this is a Piper Cheyenne. This is was developed by Digital Aviation, and is now at version 4.0, that is the last one, and it was released in 2010, and so it's pretty much old, but it's working very good. The systems are very good, and the flying skills and the hands and flying is very nice. Anyway, Digital Aviation developed this specific turbine powered aircraft, twin engine. Is a Piper PA-31T Cheyenne, and it's actually a turboprop aircraft, as I said, with Pratt & Whitney engines, with each of them have a 620 PS, and the propellers actually work at 1900 RPM. And for this version, that is actually the 2 extra large IIXL version of the Piper Cheyenne, while the 1, the 2, and the 1 alpha actually works with propellers at 2200 RPM. The prop are hydraulic controlled and driven in constant speed. The fuel capacity of this aircraft is 366 gallons of jet fuel. And this is actually a very nice airplane for various reasons. First of all, it actually flies at the speed of 280 through airspeed during cruise, but the very important thing is that during the approach and during the descent it can actually match the performances of an airliner. Actually, you can fly the approach at 180-190 knots, then to speed down to the final approach at around 120-130 knots, and so you can actually go to big airports without any hassle while holding for waiting for your time, because you can actually get into the rush of the airliners and keep the speed as they keep during there. The other good thing is that actually it is certified for flight until flight level 310 or 31,000 feet, and so you can actually fly very high with over the weather, passing over the thunderstorms, and so have a good and without any trouble flight, and also can land on shore runways, so this makes everything very nice. Anyway, the standard empty weight of this aircraft is 5,874 libras, with a maximum takeoff weight of just less than 10 tons. Is actually a maximum takeoff of 9,474 libras, with a maximum landing weight of 9,000 libras. This tutorial for today, as you have read from the topic, is about the GPS of this aircraft. Digital Aviation actually set this aircraft with a Trimble 2000 GPS approach. Plus, that is actually a very nice GPS, because when GPS was developed and introduced into the real world, that was around 1885, I think, 1985, sorry. Actually, there were no GPS units on board the aircraft. There was INS units, and now we have the FMS with GPS, SATCOM, and so on. Anyway, when the GPS was introduced, the first units to be developed was exactly those Trimble units. And the nice thing about those Trimble units is that the old airliner, after the INS, were equipped with some of the Trimble units. So those Trimble units were used by real airliner in the period between 1985 to 1995. I've seen a pair of BY-146 British Aerospace 146 equipped with Trimble, and I've seen some videos about that, and there are really original and unique units. Anyway, Getting back today, the aircraft has two generators for AC power on both the engine and propeller shafts. Anyway, we will use just the ground power developed by a ground power unit that can be connected to the aircraft. The aircraft has no IPU, of course, but we have this ground power unit to receive AC power. Anyway, you can actually work on DC power with the battery pack, but the battery pack must be preserved for life and for startup later. Anyway, now I will get inside the aircraft to show you just a little pre-flight check with GPU connection and battery connection to show you how to start up the things, and later on we will start to insert our specific route into the Trimble to show you how to do that. This mainly because I've never seen a tutorial about the Trimble 2000 approach, and there are only some paper tutorials, but I think that the video is saying 1000 words, so it's way better. Wait a little and we will show we back in around 1 second on the video. Okay, welcome back. We are into the cockpit, as you can see, and we are, as usual, in a cold and dark situation. There is not many things to be done to power up the electrical systems and the aircraft in general, but the procedure must be strict followed, because with a turboprop you can actually make some errors with the engines, and this digital aviation has some nice features about failures and problems you can actually find while trying to start up an engine, making some errors, or actually shutting down an engine with too much temperature on the ITT gauge and so on. Anyway, from what you can see, we have a standard cockpit. We have the radio stack that is here, and the avionics that is in the middle of the main panel. As you can see, we have 4 radios. Actually, there are 2 com radios and 2 nav radios. The Trimble unit, actually the GPS itself, is very small. There is no map designed, but is actually coupled with the avionics and weather radar, and I will show you later. Then we have 2 ADF and NDB receivers and 2 transponders. Mod Charlie, but Mod Sierra for the actual presence of the aircraft. Anyway, the AC power for avionics, that is powered by this switch, avionics on-off switch, actually power up all those avionics, the autopilot and altitude selector here, the autopilot that is located on the pedestal here, and also the electrical TCAS and VSI indicator. And actually also the AC power can power up the inverter power, giving you power to the gyros, both the ADI and the HSI, and some other gyros about the standby instrument here into the aircraft. Anyway, as you can see, we are in cold and dark situation, and we will do the pre-flight checklist before starting up. The first thing to be sure is that the controls are released if they were blocked, and they actually move freely side. As you can see, the rudder move freely, the yoke is freely up and down, and so we are very okay about that. Then we got the overhead panel. As you can see, there are some switches. You must check that all the electrical switches are off. Here we have all the lights with the tail fluid lights here, anti-ice switches, the battery master switch, and the seatbelt no smoking, the gyro gauges dome light, actually the engine starting and controls. Say that now we can actually check up there. This is the ELT switch that is actually used in this aircraft to connect and disconnect the ground power unit, and I will show you later. And down here we have 3 gauges about the electrical system. We have a voltmeter for the batteries and 2 ampere meters for the buses connected to the generator. So this is the amperes that actually come from the generator inside the engine. Anyway, say that we need to get back to the main panel, check that we have 3 green lights on the landing gear, and this block we test the red light here that is actually powered by DC power directly like the clock, so there is a single battery powering this and not the main battery. And say that we need to check that the avionics switch is off, that the inverter power switch is off, and this is, and actually the HES bypass switch is off. the controls must be in stop, the power, the fuel lever, the propeller controls in feeder, and the idle control for power level. Anyway, now we can power up the batteries to check up the main system. You can turn on the battery, check about the volts. As you can see now, we are hearing about the gyros starting up like in a normal general aviation airplane, and this sound is actually very typical of general aviation aircraft. Anyway, battery on, you can see that the volt is 28, so we are in a full charge of the battery, and we can turn on the position light for our actual aircraft. Now we get back to the main panel here, and we can check main things like indications. As you can see, there is the annunciator panel. We need to test it. We press the annunciator test button. As you can see now is blinking, and the caution light is blinking. You can actually depress to stop the test and reset the master caution. After that, you can test the marker indicator. You can test also the torque gauges here, digital torque gauges. As you can see, the avionics are off, so they are not tuned on yet. Anyway, now we must check the flap indicator. Yes, okay, it is done. And okay, we select flaps 15, because later on the preflight checklist that you do around out, you need to check the flaps, so we will select them 15. Also, if we not, we'll go to do it now today. Anyway, you have to check that the oxygen gauge show full oxygen, and you also have to check that the trim is in 0.0 degree position for both aileron, elevator, and also for the rudder, and they are all free on 0.0, so we can continue with the preflight. Now we have finished our preflight checklist, and we need to power up the ground power unit. In this way we can also continue with the power of the avionics and the insertion into the Trimble GPS unit of our flight plan. Anyway, to connect the GPU, you need to know that the GPU can actually vary its voltage because of not perfect unit, and so during the connection to the aircraft system. So, for this reason, you need to disconnect the battery power for starting the GPU. After the GPU has stabilized on the voltmeter gauge, you can actually regain the battery master on to connect the battery to the system and to get the charge to the batteries. So we can select the battery master on. Now the aircraft is depowered. You can select the GPU on. In this case, you will do directly from the outside. There is no switch for turning on and off the GPU. Just when it is connected in, the GPU is inside the system, the electrical system, whatever. But Digital Aviation actually used the emergency locator transmitter switch to use the GPU. You can actually press it. As you can see now, the GPU is connected. You can see that the volt is now stabilized as 28, and you can repress battery master switch to connect them to the electrical system again. The GPU system uses AC power, so we have yet AC power connected to the system. Now we can go back. Okay, and we are back to the main panel. At this point, we need to turn on the avionics master switch, and to select the avionics, we need to prepare our flight on. We can select avionics on. As you can see now, there is a sound. This sound is about the autopilot that say that is connected to the electrical system and is now on. And you can see here from these three red switches that actually the channels are powered up but are not connected with hydraulics, so you can actually not use the autopilot yet. This is the altitude selector, and you can see it's powered. And we have also the power to the main gears for the HSI for the copilot side. At this point, we need to turn on the avionics, so we select the selection, the intercom on, the two-com radius on, the two-nav radius on. We can select the two NDBs receivers on, and also the transponder to show you something. This is about the weather radar and the route map. You can select it on now is standby and on testing, and as you can see now it's testing itself. We left behind just the Trimble unit. We can power up. After the power off of the Trimble unit, there will be one system code indicator on the main screen, and later on the Trimble will do some internal testing of the circuits and of the database to show that, to see that anything is working good. Now you can turn on, you see all the lights are on, the GPS is doing itself some checking about the system. Now as you can see, system code, I will zoom in out, and welcome to the world of modern navigation in 1985. Now you can see now computer okay, GPS computer okay, database is okay, and the initialization is finished. At this point you need to select the fuel on board the aircraft. Today we have 1978 liters of fuel. Anyway, we have two different knobs on the Trimble. There is one inner knob and one outer knob. The outer knob is used mainly to pass from datas into the pass from pages, and you can modify it using the upper switches, while the inner knob is used by the two down click with plus to the left and minus to the right to select both the things inside the aircraft. If you actually use the mouse button left, you will go with down values, while if you use the right mouse button, you will go up with values or to the right. Anyway, now we have to select the fuel. You use the two controls that are down. As you can see, using the left and right button here, you can actually modify the value. You can go up to 5000. We select 1, then we go to the left, and using the right button, you go to the second digit, and then you can change it to 9, like our fuel. Then we go again to the third value. You can select the turn number, that is 7 for us, and the last one, the last one, sorry, and the last one, that is the fourth digit, is actually 8. You can go to 8. Okay, now we have 1978 liters that are actually the fuel we have on board, and this is needed from the GPS for the GPS to calculate the main values into the calculation and the flight plan mode of the aircraft. At this point you can see that there is a green blinking light on the enter. When you have finished, you can press enter, and actually you will confirm the value. At this point the navigation the GPS says us that the ready is for navigation. Select any mode. To insert the flight plan, and mainly today our flight will be from Nice, Côte d'Azur, Lima Foxtrot Mike November is the ICAO code, to Trieste in Italy, Lima India Papa Quebec is the actually ICAO code. Our route will take us from the seed that finish on basic waypoint via the Yankee 15 airway to Albinga NDB, that is actually Alpha Bravo November. Then again on the upper airspace, when we will climb to flight level 260 later at the Uniform Zulu 388 airway to Foxtrot Echo Romeo or Ferrara NDB. And after that, the last stage of our flight will take us on the Uniform Mike 859 airway to Devore Charlie Hotel India or Chioggia in Italy, where we start our arrival into Trieste. For the Trimble 2000, you need to know that actually the Trimble does not have a database for airways. You need to insert waypoint by waypoint. So this means that you must have a list of the waypoints, and you need to insert them in order to have a flight plan. So the Trimble does not know which airways you are flying on, and this is one of the main differences with the FMS, where you can select an airway and select the initial and last point, and the aircraft will calculate all the waypoints down the route. Anyway, I have a list of the waypoints and I will select them later. Anyway, to insert a new flight plan, you need to go to the flight plan page. You press flight plan. As you can see now, we have a green light over the flight plan saying us that we are in the flight plan section of the GPS. And as you can see, there is no active flight plan loaded into the GPS, of course, because we have powered up the aircraft yet just now. So you can press flight plan again and you enter into the flight plan database. As you can see, this is one of the dozens of flight plans that actually are inside the database. I flown this route some time ago, and as you can see, there is the ICAO code of the departure airport, the ICAO code of the arrival airport, the complete distance of the flight plan, and the first leg indication about that. If you use click spot here, you can actually use the left and the right mouse button to navigate between the flight plans. As you can see, now we are going from Nuremberg to Frankfurt, from Friedrichshafen to Marseille, from Friedrichshafen to Pexpogani, and so on. There are a lot of other flight plans. Those flight plans are the actual flight plan you have completed before this. Anyway, if you press again flight plan, you will enter into a specific leg page of the flight plan. The flight plan you were selecting before, you now can navigate between the legs of this flight plan using the same click spot and the left and right mouse button. You can see leg 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. If you press again flight plan, you will be back to the first page. Now, going to the flight plan database, to insert a new flight plan, you can, as you can see now, using this click spot, you can go from leg to leg also in the second page. Anyway, now we want to insert a new flight plan. You can, from the first flight plan, go to the click spot here and click the left mouse button, and you actually get there to the add new flight plan mode. You can also use the right button and navigate from all the waypoint, all the flight plan loaded, and then actually at the end will show you the add new flight plan page. At this point, you can see the add new flight plan page. You can see start, 2 plus that are actually blinking, and then indication. Now, to insert the route, you need to insert both the departure airport and the arrival airport, and all the waypoints between them. The standard instrumental departure and the arrival will be selected later. The first part of the flight plan is to select all the route and all the waypoints. So you can press enter, and actually you see a new indication for that. There is a plus, an A, saying us that we have selected airport, and an airport. If you actually use this mode here on the left, you can actually enter into the airport field and change the airport ICAO code. If you use this click spot here, the minus, you can actually change the type of waypoint you are going to enter. Actually, there are airport, approach, SID, stars, VOR, and DBs. ISAC is for intersections. Now the first waypoint of our flight plan is airport, so we use the left mouse button to get back to airport, and use this one to select the new airport. You can use this part here to change the values of the field, and we can go, actually here is Lima Foxtrot Mike November, so we select Lima, then we go to the second field, Foxtrot, then we go to the third field, Mike. Okay, going faster, and the last one is November, so we can select November here. Well, okay. When you finish to enter your ICAO code or your intersection or VOR, you press enter, and actually the first waypoint is actually entering into the flight. You get back to the initial part where you have 2 plus blinking. You can repress enter and enter the next waypoint or final and departure airport. Now the second waypoint is actually a intersection, so we go to is ISAC. And we go to the first field. Now the ISAC, we need to insert the ISAC. The first one is BASIP, so we select Bravo, Alpha, Alpha, Sierra. You can go also backwards to make it faster. Then we have selected India, and the last one is Papa, and so we go to the last field and select Papa. you can press enter, and now BASIP inserted into the flight plan. Now you can go with all the other waypoints. For example, the next one is Alpha Bravo November NDB, so you can enter. It's not an intersection, but is an NDB, so you get back to NDB and insert it with ABN. Actually, I now will not use again the knobs. I will show you how to do that, but I will do the keyboard insertion. That is much faster. As you can see, I can press on the keyboard to enter the waypoints, and this is much faster. Actually, in a real airplane, that will be very fast to do that. After the ABN, we have the P-boom waypoint, so we go back to Isaac and we enter P-boom, or Papa India Bravo Uniform Mike, and okay, we enter again Isaac, and the next one is Calmo, so we select Kilo Alpha Lima Mike Oscar, Calmo, and we press again enter, and again to Isaac. The next after Calmo there is Lupus, okay, it's done. Enter the next one again. No, this time is NDB again, is Ferrara NDB, so we get back to NDB and we select Foxtrot Echo Romeo as our NDB. Enter OK. The next one is again an intersection, and so it is Rovig, R-O-V-I-G. Enter again, and the last one is a VOR, so we need to get to the VOR and select Charlie Hotel India. At this point we have finished our route. The next one will be the final, the arrival airport, and so we select enter again, we go to the airport field, we select the airport and select Lima India Papa Quebec as our arrival. At this point we have finished our flight plan. The flight plan is now complete, and at this point the GPS is saving the flight plan to the database to make it possible to reuse it. At this point you can enter actually the departure, the arrival and the approach of the route. We'll start from the departure. We are departing from Nice, Côte d'Azur, and so we will depart with a basic departure. One important thing about the Piper PA-31, it is not RNAV1 or RMP1 capable. It is just RNAV5 or RMP5, that is the basic RNAV or BRNAV, and it is used for the airways. You can actually fly on RNAV airways, but you cannot do the RNAV or PRNAV, precision RNAV, or RNAV1 departure and arrival routes. The basic departure at Nice Côte d'Azur are actually RNAV1, so we cannot use, and we will revert to the conventional departure. Today the wind is from 070 degrees, so we will use runway 04. Probably the right for departure. We will later contact the ETC, and for this route, for this runway, the departure route is BASIP 5 Echo departure. So we press enter, you go to SID, and you press one time right click button here. The GPS will now get into the SID selection page. As you can see, it is into the waypoint page because it's blinking, and in this section there is the database of all the waypoints, the SID, the stars and so on. As you can see now we have BADO 5 Alpha selected, but we need to select another SID. If you use the click spot here with left and right mouse button, you can select a different field. While using this click spot will change the SID selection for the field. We need to now to select the BASIP 5 Echo. You can go on, probably they are in alphabetic order. As you can see here, we have the BASIP 5 Echo. BASIP 5 Echo is selected. You can go back to all. Okay, transition not needed. And to insert this to the flight plan, you can press the waypoint blinking light. In this mode, you can see actually, if you get back to the flight plan moving, you can show that actually there is the SID selected. We are Delta 088 Sierra, use one BASIP. Actually, you will find sometimes that there is a double waypoint at the end of the seed. In this case, you can actually delete the second one, the one that you have inserted into the route. To do that, you need to go up here As you can see, you can replace basic with another waypoint or delete basic with another waypoint using the right button. If you want to delete, you get to delete and then press enter. At this point you have back to the normal flight plan, so you check again the departure, Usano, basic, ABN and so on. Now, at this point we will enter the star, so we press enter, we go to star and we select one right click here to enter into the star waypoint selection. At this point you can see we are at the arrival part. Our arrival for today is via Oslo waypoint, and the star we can select without, because it is not ATC approved one, but is actually just for calculation. Later you can actually replace the star just like I did before. I will show you later. We will select the Charlie Hotel India 3 Tango arrival via Oslo with an ILS Yankee arrival. So now we have to find about the key 3 Tango, and so we go on. Okay, I've seen key 3 Tango. Then you get to runway transition. Okay, and so we select again the waypoint. At this point you can get back and you can see Charlie Hotel India, Tuli Cross Oslo. That is actually the right route for our arrival. At this point we need just to enter the approach, so you press enter at the end of the flight plan, you go to approach page, you go for the last one. Okay, we are inside the approach phase, and this is the last one part of our flight plan. The arrival is an ILS Yankee to Oslo, ILS Yankee to runway 09. So you can see, you can select also the transition or initial approach fix, but we will before select the approach. The Delta letter actually stay for VOR DME approaches, while the India is for ILS. You can see ILS 09 Whiskey, but is ATC approved. For the X is the same. You can go to ILS Yankee. Here we are. You can go down, you can select Oslo is the first one, and is the only one, and so we get press to waypoint and this inside. As you can see here, we have two Oslo. This is not a problem. The flight plan will be okay anyway. We have Rosk Oslo, D2560, D2, okay, these are all the waypoint. You must check that there is a runway waypoint on the route. You can see now we have runway 09, and the waypoint after that are actually the missed approach waypoints after runway 1, and that's important in case you are going to go around. Anyway, now the flight plan is completed. If you want to change one arrival or one approach, you can actually go to one of the waypoints of this SID or star or approach, and you can use this the same button we used before to change to cancel the basic waypoint, the basic second waypoint. You can press right button, and you can see we have replace approach or delete approach, and you actually press enter and you delete the approach you have selected before, or replace the approach returning to the approach select page before. At this point we need to activate the flight plan, so we can first of all deselect the keyboard. Okay, you need to get back to the start of the flight plan, to LFMN. Actually you need to select the first leg, but I prefer to select also the leg to Lima Fox Mike November, because when you enter the runway the GPS will switch to the second leg and is more precise during the departure. So you get back to the first waypoint. As you can see, we can go to the left anymore, and you can press the direct to button. You press direct to button one time and you repress the button one time. You can see turn to intercept new course 092, and now the flight plan is loaded. As you can see, Lima Foxtrot Mike November has yet been selected, has yet been flown. We are near the airport zone, so it has just joined the second leg on the flight plan. At this point you can see there is a deviation indicator, the track you need to fly to the waypoint, the distance in nautical miles, the time needed to fly that, and the waypoint you are flying to. At this point you can actually change the view of the second the second line on the screen, and you can see a lot of other information. And if you want to also to change the first line, you can with the other part. Anyway, I prefer the generic one. At this point you are in the knife section and is working very good. If you now go back to the normal cockpit, you can see to fly that approach you need first of all to okay, we power up the inverter power a little because I need the FMA, that is actually kind of called an initiator panel, to be working. And to work that, actually I will show you the route. You can go directly to the weather part. If you go to the last part, that is the map, you can see all the waypoints selected into the route. But if you go to the weather radar, we will set, for example, a tilt of 5 degrees to clear a little bit the way. You press the left button and you will actually see all the route being displayed into the map. Actually I'm pointing in another direction so you cannot see it good, but it's actually a map for the flight and for the loaded route inside the GPS. At this point you can see here there is a nav GPS button. You need to select it on GPS. Actually we have an ILS frequency, so it will not switch to GPS, but if you actually select for a GPS, a VOR selection, you can actually toggle between VOR ILS to GPS. If you selected GPS, you can see now we have an AirNav indication here, and there is no flag about the direction for that. You can select 092 as your course to the waypoint, the next waypoint here, and the CDI or course deviation indicator will show you the deviation from the actual path you are flying to. When you want later to fly the aircraft to the waypoint, you need to use the autopilot. You can open the autopilot. I will use just the 2D, and you will have to select the nav mode and the flight director. The flight director is armed itself, and as you can see there is flight director and nav armed. When you will take off and the route is actually along the runway as usual, the nav arm will switch to nav coupled at 400 feet above ground level, and the autopilot will be able, if you actually turn it on by using the two switches here. This is the AP on. You can see the trim is trimming itself for the AP. You will see flight director, you dump autopilot, and the autopilot will be coupled with the aircraft. You can now depress the autopilot a little, because we do not need it more. And as you can see now we have shown everything you can actually do to make the airplane to fly to the route, to the actual route for a normal departure. Okay, now I have changed a little bit of things. I paused the sim and actually changed the flight plan to something more simple to show you some of the advanced function of the Trimble without going into too much detail about them, and I will show you how to use them without making an hassle or any problem. Anyway, now we will zoom into the Trimble and start with our function. The first function I want to show you is about the waypoint key. The waypoint key actually make you the possibility to enter into the database of the aircraft. If you actually press waypoint, you can pressing a number of times, changing the category you're going into, and check and search for other waypoint or MBUR or NDB if you, and I will show you. Also for procedure, so we are talking about approach, seed, star. If you press 1, airport, approach, seed, star, you just select the various selection, and you can get the only thing that changes is actually the user waypoint. You can actually enter a new waypoint pressing enter and selecting also the coordinates, and actually this makes you possible to have also user waypoint. If you make user waypoints, when you select the type of waypoint you are inserting into the flight plan, after Isaac you will find also a plus U for user waypoint, and you can enter your actually user waypoint. Say that you can go direct to the nearest key. If you can see the nearest with this click spot, you can move between the nearest type of thing. You press nearest, for example now we are seeing the airport ports. If you press again, you can see the VOR, the NDBs, the intersection, and so on. And if you can actually move the cursor here, you can actually find all the other airports. If you, for example, want to go to Fayence and want to delete the flight plan to go directly to this point, you can press direct to page, and you can see flight course direct to is the course selected when you press one time direct to. You can also, if you want, change the course with this click spot left and right. If you want to cancel, you get back to nav, for example. Say that if you want to go direct to a specific waypoint in the flight plan, you can go to the flight plan, you press again, you can see the leg you're flying now. Now 060 is the heading from Nesco to Albinga NDB, the distance and the estimated time of. If you use this click spot, you can actually move between the legs. If you select one of the legs, for example to Kyoto VR and press direct to, you can join the leg of the specific leg you want to fly, or if you use this specifically spot on the rear, so the outer knob, you can go directly or changing the course you want. And so you can also do that by moving between the various waypoints of the route. If you go back to nav, for example, if I go now to ABN, if you are actually in the actual leg and you want to hold at the end of the leg, you can actually go flying the specific leg you are flying. You press direct to, and you can see join leg to LFMN, or you can go fly course or to PBOOM, or if you go all the way down to the right, you can see all that Albinga NDB inbound course of the holding. You can actually select the inbound course as you see before. See that actually we have done the holding, the direct to, and the nearest of the waypoint. The AUX key, I will not actually use it because it just shows how to make to import a fly simulator standard flight plan. It is not simulated into the digital aviation Trimble, so I will not show you. There is the tutorial, there is the operational manual about the digital aviation, so I will not explain you that because it is not realistic and don't like it. The last key we left is the calculator. If you press calculator one time, you will see general performances of the aircraft. As you can see, ground speed, estimated time of en route, distance, and estimated time of arrival. If you press again calculator, you will go into the atmosphere calculation page. All those pages are actually self-explanatory. I will not explain them. You can move between them using the key, as you can see, also for the other, but this is just a normal calculator indication, so I will not explain you. I will just let you to explain find out what information are contained here. Now we can go to navigation, we can zoom out, and we can go back to the normal panel. With this actual last information about the calculator page, I actually finished my tutorial. I have said everything I know about the Trimble, how to operate it, and how to fly a normal and standard route with it, also in IFR airspace or IFR flight. All the information said here are valid for any digital aviation aircraft from the 1 series to 2 XLR series, and the Trimble, I found it very nice because it is a unique unit, as I said before. Say that I finished with the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something about the Trimble and how it is beautiful to fly something older than the modern times. And if you have any question or any information you desire to know, just let me know down here on the comments, and just like the video. Thank you very much, and see you soon for the next tutorial.